Alrighty, 1.3, Rwanda from independence to civil war. So this is going to be talking about the time period really when Rwanda was an independent country leading up to the civil war that started in 1990. Ultimately ending with the Rwandan Genocide in 1994. Again, key concepts to understand: change, causation, and significance. Have these ideas in the back of your mind as we're going through this. And the question you should be able to answer by the end is the key idea of democracy. So democracy, introduced in 1962, caused radical change and upset the balance of the status quo, which has existed since the arrival of the Europeans in Africa and in Rwanda. So be able to talk about how did that happen? How was there a radical change? How did this upset the balance of power? What was the result of this upset of balance of power? What was the result of this radical change? What was the significance of this radical change? Be able to explain those kind of questions using examples and details from the text, and you should be good to go. Again, the timeline, kind of explaining the different stuff that's going to be happening throughout this section. So the First Republic is going to last in Rwanda from 1963 until 1973, so 10 years. The political climate that's going to emerge during this time period is, again, divided along ethnic lines: Hutu versus Tutsi. Understand that. There's going to be a lot of ethnic racism, which is an important term you need to understand. This is racism based solely on the ethnic breakup of an individual. Okay, so if you are Tutsi, I do not like you, you are bad. I wish you were dead. If you are Hutu, I do not like you, you are bad. I wish you are dead. That is the mindset of these individuals at this time period. It's going to be particularly happening against the Tutsi by the Hutu. Okay, political restructuring. They're going to switch the system of government and really change the system of government in a way that's going to put power solely in the hands of Hutus at the expense of the Tutsi. Tutsi are going to be discriminated against politically and in the workforce. So it's like, hey, we don't want you here, go away. There'll be 2,500 UN peacekeepers and diplomats who are in the country, and they're largely there for the economic recovery of Rwanda, to make sure that Rwanda is economically growing, and to make sure there is stability, to make sure that the Tutsi extremists don't start killing or the Hutu extremists don't start killing all the Tutsi, and the Tutsi don't respond and start killing all the Hutu. So they're kind of there to make sure they're maintaining peace. You want to know this term, Inyenzi. Why is this term significant? This is the local word for cockroach. Okay, this is what they're going to be calling these refugees. Okay, these Tutsi refugees, they're going to call them cockroaches. Okay, so understand that no one likes a cockroach. They're these disgusting bugs that you just want to kill and get rid of. So understand the significance of calling a group of people cockroaches. Okay, understand that significance. Why is that so crucial? How does this help breed this kind of desire for killing? The other thing to understand is the Rwandan genocide is going to be happening in 1994 by a group of young men primarily doing the killing. So these young men roughly in their 20s or their teens. So let's take it back about 20 years. It's going to be towards the end of this time period that we're talking about now, when they would have been born. So understand their parents are growing up with this ideology in their heads. These children are going to be growing up with this ideology in their head, and then ultimately this is going to lead to them committing a genocide going on. There is going to be massacres taking place later this year in Kigonoro, near the southern border with Burundi. So there's going to be massacres, which is killing individuals without any defense. There's going to be accusations against the regime for what they're doing. The UN is going to come involved, and saying this one. The official government version, what does this imply? This implies the government's hiding something. Oh, here's officially what happened. In reality, a lot of individuals, particularly the UN, is saying what the government's saying happened did not happen. Okay, it wasn't simply lost control. It's a matter of these people killing individuals based upon their race. This is the foundation of a genocide. There were problems common in the emerging regimes. That is typical in really any regime, any country that's trying to grow: widespread corruption, social division, and then a one-party state. These are problems that are going to be happening. This is what's happening in Rwanda, and this is going to, again, kind of set that foundation for a genocide. The leader of the country, Kabiyabanda, is going to promote the concept of a superior status of the Hutu. He's also going to talk about the importance of following a Christian lifestyle and the significance of hard work to better the country. Now, this is going to be important because this is going to kind of allow him to gain some support by outsiders. They're going to be looking in and like, hey, you know what? He's trying to do some positive stuff. He might be a little bit crazy, but at least he's doing some positive stuff. And this is going to allow him to really kind of sow the seeds of division in his country. Then we're going to get the Second Republic under Habyarimana right here. This is going to follow the purge of the Tutsi among the staff and students in university, resulting in the military really establishing power and control within the country. So he's going to come in and purge the Tutsi. Rwandan army is going to give the army leave of imposing further control. So the army is then going to have even more control in the country than they previously did, instigating violence and stepping in, which is a favorite tactic of dictators around the world. So remember when we talked about authoritarianism? Understand kind of what's going on here. Okay, we're going to have problems and crisis in Burundi. It's going to lead to a crackdown in Rwanda. Remember, Burundi and Rwanda were divided along ethnic lines, the Hutu and the Tutsi. So they're very, very similar. If we got crisis going in one country, we might have a crisis in the other one. So he's going to come in and try to stop that crisis before it ever happened. Kind of a preemptive strike, so to speak, to stop any crisis from happening in his country of Rwanda. Again, using violence to do this, a favorite tactic of dictators around the world. Relate this part back to our previous unit on authoritarianism, and you should be good to go. His aim was to secure his own power in the Paramahutu. This is, again, that paramilitary force of the Hutu to gain vast wealth for himself and his cronies in the north. Habyarimana is pretty much concerned with making himself stronger than he is making his country stronger. The National Revolutionary Movement for Development, MRDN, is going to form in 1974 and soon is going to become rich at the expense of the Rwandan people. Again, this is Habyarimana trying to make himself rich and his friends rich versus helping his country. His international reputation is going to be quite good, primarily because he's going to profess his Catholic faith, even though he's not actually following his Catholic faith. He's going to try to live a modest and simple lifestyle. From the outside world looking in, it appeared Rwanda was slowly kind of moving in the direction of positive change. Inside, he's going to be starving people to death, really leading a quite oppressive rule of his country. However, he's going to put on good optics, and the international community is largely going to ignore the crimes happening in his country. At the belief that it's slowly moving in the right direction. In regard to addressing the imbalance between Hutu and Tutsi in Rwandan society, Habyarimana is going to recognize the importance of education. Education is crucial when it comes to really lessening those divisions. If you have one group that has education, another group that doesn't have education, the educated group is going to come out on top every single time. So he's going to realize this, and he's going to try to kind of fix the system of education in Rwanda. So he's going to spend a large percentage of the national budget on education, more so than was really spent in any other countries. Not any other country, but the vast majority of other countries. So he's going to be spending a lot of money on education. There's going to be the Tutsi, which is something that's going to be unjust. Okay, he's going to see this as educating the Tutsi is not just to make a level playing field. It's trying to actually just is going to be encouraging. Let me start over. Okay. So his emphasis on educating the Hutu was not seen as trying to make a level playing field by the Tutsi. So the Tutsi did not see this as him trying to balance the situation out. Remember previously when we have the Belgians in control of the country, they're going to be really focusing their education on the Tutsi. He's going to be focusing on building up the Hutu. But this is going to be seen as something that's unjust by the Tutsi. He's going to encourage discrimination based on ethnicity. The system is going to remain discriminatory, just as it had under colonial rule, only in this time this is going to kind of flop. Okay, so if you look at how it was in Rwanda, basically flip the situation from when the Belgians were in control. Now you're going to flip that, and that's what it's going to be like when Habyarimana is in control. When the Belgians, it was all about the Tutsi having power. Habyarimana is going to flip that, all about the Hutu having power. It's going to serve as a reinforcement for the social division within Rwandan society. So we'll look at this source again in class. You have this in the textbook. Be able to answer some of these questions right down here, and that'll put you in a good position moving forward. Okay. Now, Rwanda is one of the smallest countries in the world, which is significant. Make sure you understand that. It's also one of the most densely populated countries. So there is not a lot of area, but there's a lot of people there. Yeah, in many developing countries, the birth rate in Rwanda is going to grow rapidly. Total population was close to 5 million, with the Tutsi comprising of about 10% of the population. And the majority of the people in this country live in poverty. So remember, previously, historically throughout Rwanda, the Tutsi were the ones that were kind of in control of the government, even though they made up about 10% of the population. The Hutu see this as wrong, particularly the Hutu extremist. You're going to have that situation right through there. You're also going to have widespread poverty. When there is a widespread poverty, there's going to be a lot of other issues that come about in the country. Coffee is going to be the major export of the country. So when the coffee prices are going to fall, this is going to cause major problems within Rwanda because they're not making any money. The link between the environmental factors of Rwanda and the population growth and land pressure, coupled with the unsustainable agricultural practices, are going to really contribute to the outbreak of violence in '94. So there is going to be a real kind of connection between the economic factors going in the country. People don't have a lot of money, caused by the environmental factors of the coffee crop. If you have coffee, or not just coffee, but any problem going on in the country, economically speaking, people have no money, and this is largely caused by environmental issues. And this is going to lead to a number of violence. Okay, you're frustrated, your situation needs to go on, you need to find something better, and they've got to find a way out of the situation. This is going to, again, lead those groundworks to the violence ultimately erupting in 1994. The best way of kind of thinking of this is pressure. It's just building up in a tank over and over and over again, and eventually it is going to explode. There is no way around that unless you slowly let the pressure out, which is not going to be happening. That pressure is going to ultimately explode. My question I wrote right here is it fair to put the blame of this problem solely on Habyarimana? Is he the one who really led to the genocide happening in 1994, or is he simply one who kind of just made the situation worse? Be able to talk about this, be able to argue this. We will discuss this heavily in class, probably do a debate or something on that, but make sure you can understand that right through here. There's going to be a lot of upheavals in the country, which is going to make many Hutu peasants fearful for their future, and they're willing to listen to propaganda disseminated to them by Habyarimana, because they're like, we don't know what's happening. Poor people often aren't going to have as much of an education, particularly in rural countries like this at this time period. It's a lot easier to give them the propaganda and say basically, hey, the Tutsi are trying to take over. You're going to lose your livelihood, possibly your food and your life if you don't support us. Mixed with this populism, really doing what the people want, what a small group of people want, all about just maintaining power. It's going to allow to this toxic atmosphere to really continue to develop. Tutsi-dominated RPF, Rwandan Popular Front, is going to be exiled and is going to start dedicated returning refugees back to Rwanda. They're going to launch an offensive in 1990, and this is going to really kind of start everything right through there. Again, questions, comments, please put it down below. The situation is building up, getting worse. Anything from there? Questions, comments, put it below. We'll discuss this in class. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Good luck.